6
chicks
with
picks
coming at you on this episode of the Deadlights Pod.
The devil's eyes. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
You're gonna need a bigger potion.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I'll play a game.
Wanna kill 'em all? Wanna kill 'em?
You so you can mine. Live, dead, lives.
Welcome to the Deadlights Podcast, Season 5. I'm your host, Sam.
And I'm your host, Matt, bringing y'all yet another deep dive into some tremendous horror.
Oh, we're going deep and dark in this one.
Getting murky with it.
Please like, subscribe, turn on those notifications.
And hammer in the comments, please. It's been beautiful hearing from you guys, and we want to keep that up, keep things moving along tip-top magoo.
Yeah, we're getting down to the last couple episodes of the season, and man, I mean, again, you picked this one, and I'm glad you did, because it was a pleasure diving deep into this one.
That it was.
And that one is The Descent from 2005, written and directed by Neil Marshall. A caving expedition goes horribly wrong when 6 explorers become trapped and ultimately pursued by a strange breed of predators. This is a movie that I feel like every time I've brought up to somebody that we're watching it and reviewing it for the podcast, they're all like, ooh, because it's one of those movies that really sticks with you. And it plays on the most common fear that we all have, which is the dark.
The darkness, tight spaces.
That's why it's kind of lasted the tell of time after over 20 years.
Brother, this movie is a beautifully afflicting film. It really stays with you, and that is absolutely why I brought it forth, because of the impact it had on me the first time I saw it, the amount of time between the first time I saw it until ever seeing it again. And then but it's always lingered, and I've always appreciated it so much. And for how long it had been, remembered so much about it still. And this was an absolute treat to dive into. And
it was still, for me, effective after that. I mean, after 20 years from it when it came out, I think probably the first time I'd watched it through was only a couple years after it came out. And I was still feeling it. I was still feeling the dread, the claustrophobia, even after knowing how it ends up and where it goes. It's still effective. It sticks around, like you said. Should we get into it?
Yeah.
Should we jump into?
There's only one way.
Only one way, and that's through.
Yes.
Oh boy, let's get into the can. Open up the can, and as always, I kind of like to start with our filmmaker, Mr. Neil Marshall, who is our writer and director of The Descent. You know, we have another appearance of our good old friend Steven Spielberg coming into play, because a little tidbit that I found was when Neil Marshall was 11 years old, he watched Raiders of the Lost Ark and was completely inspired after that to become a filmmaker. But from there, he went to film school and eventually started working as a freelance editor. It was in 1995, he co-wrote and edited this movie called Killing Time.
It's plain and simple. You follow her. When she kills Riley, you kill her.
That's kind of what started him into this journey of working on higher end movies, television series, all the while he was developing his own projects. One of them being a project known as Dog Soldiers, which was his first feature film that he wrote and directed.
Move your fucking arse, soldier!
I love it when a posh bear talks dirty.
It was kind of the cult following that earned, and the success of that eventually led him to be able to do The Descent in 2005.
It's the classic environment, and horror films are best set in the dark, and you can't get any more dark than this. What it is about is a descent into madness and a physical descent into the depths of the earth.
He said he proceeded into this cautiously because he had never done something like, I mean, obviously it's his second major production, but hadn't done anything all-female led before.
I'd seen Dog Soldiers and I loved it and I wanted to work with Neil. And once I'd read the script, I just thought it was interesting to have an all-female cast.
Which in an action horror film was quite unique. At the end, we've managed to achieve that same atmosphere of collaboration and a good sense of fun, but also a good sense of professionalism, and everybody's just mucking in.
You know, to be honest with you, it's such an ensemble thing, you know, cast and crew together. So much of the crew's male, so it balances it out.
That's where so much of this wonderful collaborative experience came into play throughout the film, and with this very strong 6 chicks with picks that that get cast in the film.
Ever since we conceived the script idea, there's been a kind of running joke that this film is 6 chicks with picks.
I think that was a huge thing, and I love that came up, was this collaboration that he really pushed, especially with the actors, you know, because this is a very character-driven story too. I wanted to bring up his flaky pastry principle.
The first draft of the script was a lot more sort of caricatured, that the women were a bit more sort of stylized and slightly unrealistic.
I remember him saying that he wasn't interested in us playing one-dimensional characters. And I think in horror, it's very easy to do that because, you know, horror can easily be very, rely heavily on a formula. And he really allowed us to, you know, flesh these characters out.
The action hasn't really changed at all. The actual story progression and the physical action, you know, that happens within it hasn't changed at all. But the characters have just gone from strength to strength and become much more real and more human. And it's just been a question of just adding layers to them.
We start the movie with a horrible tragedy. Life is great for Sarah and her friends Beth and Juno. We're really establishing this very washed out blue green that we're gonna be carrying through the whole movie too, especially later when we're seeing red. It makes all that really pop. But even from the outset, it's pretty dreary.
It was such a dreary bleakness to it that it's just, you feel suffocated by it in a way. So we're seeing all this vast, beautiful nature, which is excellent, but you can already see that we're kind of winding up towards something that you're not really so easily going to be able to come back from.
Well, and we know too, they somewhat establish it, though we don't understand really at that moment what it means. Something is going on between Juno and Paul, Sarah's husband.
Without knowing anything to come, there's no reason to understand any of the kind of context, subtext as being delivered for us so far.
Yeah, it's very well incorporated into the action of the story. And unfortunately, the next scene, we're in the car and Sarah senses that there is some distance between her and Paul.
I'm fine.
Now he's super distant. Spikes through the head.
They crash into some sort of like utility car that has a bunch of like metal poles on the top.
I'm fine.
We've got a very big lump of air in the back of the van. Basically, we'll come out of that hole there, follow the pipe that's on the floor over there that we're going to put onto it, and go into the back of that pipe there. And a very big puck made out of wood is going to push all the pipes out the end of the tube.
Well, I think it's a great moment that it leads into, because we get our first almost like hallucinatory moment with the birthday that never happened. And then this like almost surrealist space that the movie kind of goes into as well, with Sarah kind of losing her mind.
We get that first kind of moment of the suffocation of what all of this is ultimately done, has immediately done to her and is going to continue to.
She runs into Beth's arms and Juno's there too.
Juno can't hardly. Juno in this moment is just like, she like looks at her, is like, nah, turns around to walk away, kind of comes back for a second, is like, no, and just gets out of there.
The title card. Go from there, title card. Shit. And then we're 1 year later in Appalachia with a coming back together of the group. In these first moments of them coming together, we have some great like establishing of who these different people are. Obviously we have Sarah, who's, you know, our main character, very distant. She's obviously changed and people are being very tentative about her best friend Beth, who's the one who's traveling with her and clearly has been with her.
Yeah, it's been her rock. Yeah.
We see Juno again.
And what I gotta say really quick, just as like with the first time we see Juno, when they get up to the cabin park, she doesn't even like go to help her or anything. This could be just complete throwaway. It's just my interpretation of it. But she just goes to hug her right away. Again, there is that lack of her going out of her way to do something for others, where so much of what seems is guided, you know, that we already get a little hint of with the little connection between her and Paul at the beginning is, you know, she supersedes all. Her desires, her interests, that's what's going to navigate her world.
Yeah, it's self-preservation, because you're right. I think that hug wasn't to comfort Sarah. It was out of guilt of what her own actions were. So she feels like she needs to do something, probably to make herself feel better. Yes. Great clock. And then we meet Sam and Rebecca, who are sisters.
Half-sisters.
Half-sisters.
I am so proud of my little sister.
And then we're introduced to Holly, who is kind of the apprentice to Juno, who's this very lively, a little overzealous, a little too gung-ho at times.
A little impulsive.
I've heard about you. You're that mentalist that jumps off buildings.
Base jumping. You should try it. Juno showed me a photo of when you used to climb together.
Oh, no.
I found this classic picture.
Love each day. It's just something Paul used to say.
But we get a very nice core establishing kind of these ladies and them coming back together.
And I love too to hear in the behind the scenes of like, because this core, the closeness was important to establish, behind the scenes, they actually had to go do some training. They had to do rock climbing training and were put in these situations together, which they said brought them closer together behind the scenes too, which is great to hear.
We had to bond really quickly. We were doing climbing the first week of knowing each other, where you're holding the rope and you're basically, you know, your friend's up there on a wall. Your friend you've known for half an hour is up on the wall, and you've got her life in your hands.
I'm so glad that we had that training, because you could feel quite clumsy and it is quite dangerous.
It isn't a film production at all. It's actually a subversive training program for the CIA.
And so just having that amount of like physical investment coming into this, they were talking about Sarah, I forget her last name, apologies, but the Juno character, how great of a crawler she was. And like Neil was even saying, like at this point in the commentary, so I'm assuming maybe they recorded the commentary track in 2006 or something, but he's like, they make a Spider-Girl movie and they needed like a Spider-Girl. He's like, she'd be great for it.
Yeah, and it was just great to see that Neil Marshall was just so open to these actors being so collaborative and take ownership over the characters, because it just added to that genuineness, and I think they were able to, you know, just bring that authenticity to these characters.
He's very collaborative, absolutely knows what he wants, but is confident enough, I guess, in his abilities to actually you know, take the best of everybody's contributions.
These girls are game for anything, and on screen they're just mind-blowing. They're a really, really solid bunch, and it's been a dream to work with them.
The night before they set out, we have another Sarah dream.
We get this pole that pierces through the window into her head, and then she wakes up from it. But she wakes up to some sort of bird. It felt kind of unnatural. So I don't know. I could be fucking wrong here and just saying this to like sound like an asshole for no reason. That's not the intention. I was just very curious what type of, it's some sort of hawk or something.
Like American Eagle.
It's just like, this is like 3 a.m. What is this hawk doing out here at this time?
He's early.
But yeah, then we hit the morning. She dry swallows one of her pills, which she makes this little like face when she does it, and for some reason it's always stuck with me like crazy. Like, I guess it's like the essence of thinking about dry swallowing pills and how like uncomfortable it is. She gives this like little throaty kind of like, ugh. And then we get outside, we take a big group photo together.
Ching. Last photo we'll ever take.
And we also see Sarah, on a little bit more, it's like the morning of. Sarah's a little upbeat.
No, wait, best of three. You can't
Best of
I'll
three.
think.
I'm driving.
I am driving.
And she's fucking tearing it up out there.
And yeah, ripping through the road.
Sarah, slow down a bit. I'm having fun. She's having fun.
They're all calm demeanored in the vehicles while driving. No one's like, hey, fucking take it easy. They're just super relaxed while they're just tearing through it. So
these are some thrill-seeking.
These are some thrill-seeking gals.
Yes.
And we establish ourselves into the base of where they're going to walk up to, where would be the cave entrance. We're also already hearing from Holly be like, this is a fucking Starbucks or whatever. What she call it? Like, this is just like, this is for tourists.
It's for tourists. It's not adventure. Might as well have handrails on a fucking gift shop.
And this is where we get our like official first kind of maniacal mistake. Juno leaves the map behind. Oh, maybe she's just like, oh, I can navigate this. I know this. Check this before. Her and Rebecca were supposed to have scouted what this was. It's no big deal. So we get the first kind of inclination that we might, it's like, all right, if we're going to give a nod to that, we are already cementing that we've kind of fucked ourselves over.
Oh, yeah. The early parts of this movie really, and Neil Marshall talked about this, the influence of Deliverance, of strangers in a strange land, somewhere where they have no business being, and all the signs around them are telling them that they should get the fuck out of here. Don't listen at all.
Oh, my favorite horror films and the films that have inspired this more than any other, I'd have to say Deliverance, which although isn't technically a horror film, is pretty scary. Alien and The Shining, each dealing with aspects of this film in different ways. Shining about somebody going insane. Alien about atmosphere and menace and dark spaces. And Deliverance about the idea of an adventure trip that goes wrong.
And the confidence that they have, these thrill seekers, to be in these unknown places is what gets them in trouble, and is what eventually leads them to getting stuck in our cave. Which, should we get to the cave?
Yeah, we're teetering the edge of it
right in there. Let's just get into the meat.
Yeah.
Because this meat really is, we're talking about grief. We're talking about where grief can take you. It can take you to some pretty extreme places. And in this case, it's taking us to go caving.
Going into like moments like this, having these experiences are deeply bonding, sharing moments that really like kind of bind you more together. And clearly we're facing something that has fractured that. I mean, we know something has fractured it because there's been a horrendous death, loss, shakeup of everything, that it obviously manifests, and it was the worst for Sarah, but everybody's still talking about it affected all of us.
We all lost something in that crash.
So it's like going back into this, where you're almost starting to think too, is Juno the intent to like forcibly radicalize the bond back together again in some demeanor? But you just think about that, the people doing it together, regardless of a lot of background and stuff, those are always very cementing moments.
I think Juno, yeah, you're right. She's desperately trying to feel okay again, because she's dealing with a loss, but also grief, but also guilt, because she knows that she did do something wrong. And now, like you're saying, just like almost scrambling to feel like she can get control over the situation again by bringing people into this cave. And her intent was to bring them into a cave that no one had ever gone into before, to have a bonding moment, so they can discover it together and have this moment together again. Because she so badly wants things to go back to how it was. She's trying to force it.
And for the most part, everybody, we're still following safety procedures. a slow kind of descent down into the initial like cave structuring. And then we get Holly, who's all fucking again OZ.
I think that this is a great time to talk about some of these cave sets that we have.
Oh yeah.
As they go down into it,
we get the first lookings of this cave. And one point that they talk about is they're like, we didn't get like a lot of like, recognition and like appreciation for the cave because a lot of people just thought it was real.
We had a few different ways of creating the caves. Some of them were molded, so we took molds from real existing cliff faces, like the one behind me, which was a real hard slate structure. And other caves were more dribbly, kind of with stalactites, kind of calcium deposits. We used the same material, same foam spray. We just used it in different ways.
But we had different layering types of density of foam, basically, dense enough that like a vehicle or some sort of structure and a lot of weight could be coming down onto it, to the ceiling types that were much thinner, malleable material, and then did tremendous work to reshape, relight so many of the ultimately kind of limited amount of set pieces they have for how vast this cave needed to be, this whole cave system.
Simon's done a fantastic job in the production design, but we do have a problem of not having enough money to make the set stretch throughout the whole story.
We've created a system where we're revamping the caves, so we're only basically building 6 caves, but changing the look through color and texture, so adding stalactites, maybe making one of them wet, one of them very dry and dusty. So we're hopefully fooling the audience into thinking that the cave system is much bigger than what we're actually building.
Unbeknownst to our eye the whole time.
Great.
It plays so well.
Yeah, because of how they light it so dimly. How are we supposed to know? I want to give credit to Simon Bowles, who is the production designer.
Tons of awesome little, to the point of like in some of the smallest of spaces, they'd throw in a little 10 millimeter lens to expand it out and give it that much like wider vastness into a very closed off, smaller area. The usage of like when we first come down to that cave entrance, there's this great kind of like this, it's not quite a waterfall, but we see this spit, it's kind of spigot or what have you of a downpour of water, and it was talcum powder and salt that they used to just drop down there, and it reads and plays so well, especially with like the light refractions that you get from what sun you would still have. It wasn't directly overhead, but still the sun from above, that natural light source you had coming down. What helped them so much with this was the fact that they shot this movie linear.
The script is relentlessly linear in terms of, we never revisit anything. It just keeps moving straight forward.
We just shot the story front to back. So when they were done with whatever system of the cave they're traveling in through, it's, we can just rework from this point in time and continue to find these new spaces.
There's only one way out of this chamber, and that's down the pipe.
I think the first 2 areas of the cave system is a great showcase of what we're going to get throughout the rest of the movie. The first one, like you said, a little more light in here. We're seeing the actual like stone more, but then the second area that we crawl into, no light.
Quickly, no light. We have to bust out a flare pretty quick.
From its original conception, I envisioned this film as being very, very dark, both in tone and in visual style, which was to make it as dark as possible.
The diegetic, really dark lighting. The script was originally titled "The Darkness," so it was always going to be steeped around that. And then again, the sense of using only light sources, matchbook lighting, I think as they called it, like kind of a terminology again around it, just being like, hey, we have flares, headlamps, a lighter, torches at this point. So it's just like we have to really lean into those aspects.
I didn't want there to be any like real gratuitous light sources in this caves. I mean, it's proving a problem as we're filming it to suddenly think, well, how are we actually going to light this scene because they've only got a box of matches on them. So right, well we use a box of matches. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we use a box of matches.
Got that flare, and that's kind of like you were talking about, these diegetic light moments that we're going to start to get more and more of, which I think plays more into the surrealness aspect of this movie, and the use of green screen and matte paintings too.
We are extending some of the sets using visual effects, so we're doing matte paintings to make them feel larger than they really are.
Does it look a little strange at points? Yes, but I think they do use it pretty well to build out the vastness of these spaces that we're in.
The matte paintings in particular, even though it's like you might be able to convey, you know, what's going on there, the amount of like open emptiness that is like brought forward with it really really played well.
Yes, and this is actually where I wanted to bring up another big filmic influence for this movie, which was Alien. And that was really about setting this super, super dark atmosphere, tight spaces, with unknown things in these dark, tight spaces.
I found the next passage!
I don't get this. But this is not how I imagine it from reading the book.
That's why I don't trust books. Leaves too much room for interpretation.
This next sequence where we are shimming through a tight crack, I mean, that whole sequence, my fucking chest is so tight. Like, you feel as we have to watch each of them shimmy through this tiny little crack space.
We have some great just like angles too that we're getting on them across, like, I don't know, it's not quite, it kind of profiles across the side of the face where it's just like you feel so much more of this, like the essence of the struggle and of being of that aspect that you could be stuck anytime.
And eventually gets to our worst nightmare, which is Sarah getting stuck.
Sarah! Guys, it's Sarah! I think she might be stuck!
I am stuck!
Man, that is a really, really just tense moment, which is great for the intensity of the film. But I do think it's another moment that does do a very good summary of what we're talking about in the meat. We have Sarah, who is the one who's carrying this bag of supplies, I believe, physically, but also she's carrying this massive baggage of grief and this trauma that she went through, losing her husband and daughter. And she's stuck. That is what gets her stuck in this really dark, tight space. And it can feel like grief is like that, like this really crushing darkness all around you. And then we have Beth, who we know was the friend that kind of like stuck around for her and was with her through this trauma that she went through. And she's the one that turns back and supports her through it and reminds her that,
listen, the worst thing that could have happened to you has already happened, okay? And you're still here. This is just a poxy cave, and there's nothing left to be afraid of, I promise, okay?
And that's what kind of brings her back. What actually eventually gets her through is this impending cave-in. She has to leave behind the physical baggage to move through into the next cavern. But she can't go back anymore because now they're caved in.
We get through barely, collapses down, dust sprays in. So they had to do that several, I don't remember how many takes they said it was. It wasn't like a crazy amount, but it's like the whole crew and everything all had masks on. They were just like, I can't remember what the material was, but they blasted them with some sort of faux dust.
That can't be good.
No, it couldn't have been.
Like, no matter how safe.
Even for practices in 2004 or 5, probably still not.
That's particulate in the air.
Yeah.
You're breathing. So in some way, that's not good.
Nobody move till the dust is settled. Oh, don't worry, Juno. We're not going anywhere.
You might be right about that.
Do you want to get to the cook?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's cook it up. Let's get into the cook of this thing. Because where I kind of actually wanted to start with the cook was actually the title. Because I think the title is a really, really good example. And just this movie in general is a very, very good example of what I'm kind of talking about when I talk about the cook, which is how are we using what's physically going on, the physical action of the movie paired with the emotional action of the movie. And this is where we get a lot of great symbolism within these actions. And I actually wanted to read from this article that I found on Bloody Disgusting. Journey to the Center of Despair, The Descent Has Lost None of Its Power After 20 Years, by Brian Keeper. And he said, there's a long tradition in horror and in a wealth of great literature as well, in which the surroundings of the characters reflect their inner or mental state. In essence, the film is a mapping of and journey through the mind of Sarah as she navigates the unbearable grief in hopes of finding an escape. So I think that this movie does a great job of cooking the meat.
Yeah, and I mean, to all the encompass points you make right there, it is a perfect paralleling of like expressing an individual's emotional state and how they're journeying and traveling through that with, again, a physical structured element, and something that is, again, it's close to them too. It's something that they enjoy and has brought a lot to them, but they don't realize is kind of like really, again, parallel segueing, really volleying perfectly with, unfortunately, what they are having to face. And it's almost the further she's getting into the cave, she knows, like, I'm not going to be able to overcome the grief either. It's like none of this, it's all consuming in any direction. And
which is actually perfect, because right after that cave-in moment, we have another birthday hallucination, which I think is exactly what you're talking about. Like, we can't go back physically, and emotionally, we are still stuck in that spot. And from here, we get the reveal too that Juno has been lying to everybody.
I checked the book.
I didn't bring it.
What?
No point.
And then this is when the secrecy kind of comes
and
comes
there is
revealed.
A lot of built dialogue and context amongst all the characters, and all of them equally sharing that frustration in the moment.
No one's ever been down here before.
Nobody's ever been here before. And it's just like that, when she drops that final line, it really does leave all of these like questions up in the air of what you're feeling, and the hope that they're all clinging to is to like, all right, well, how can we navigate out of here? Like, there's got to be a way.
Holly was right. Bourne Caverns was a tourist trap. Don't try and pin this fucking shite on me.
It's really interesting how they went really back and forth on how that was originally written, and being like, oh, this is divulged too early, we need to put this in the back end, and something on the back end, this needs to come a little more sooner. They played a lot with, because they were like, this is the crux point of where we know everything moving forward from here is essentially everything's been broken from before. That was such a succinct, really huge point to really kind of nail down and leverage to the greatest ability that they could for how it's kind of translated to the audience.
I mean, you're right. Hope is hanging on a thread, which is perfectly visualized in the next scene, when we have to cross a massive chasm leading to who knows?
In reference to a matte painting, we get this crossing that in reality, they're only like 6 feet up or something like that, but with this set, but the matte painting made it this massive. And again, we got a beautiful flare from this like 2 cross point. Almost think of it like what would be The Last Crusade, but not, a little darker, dungier, not quite as far you have to go across, and there's no invisible bridge that you have to put sand onto. And they did such a great job with like the rocky formations, and I think even Neil was talking about kind of these deep lines of striations in it, kind of give this unending feel to how long. It just seems like these could be just big columns of rock that go so deep.
It's like we're between the tectonic plates or something.
Yeah, exactly. It just looks like this huge sheet of rock that had just lost the middle of it some way, somehow, into just nothing.
One of us has to get all the way across there so they can rig a line for you guys.
We get about 3/4 of the way across, and Rebecca notices something strange. There's already a spike, albeit it looks pretty old, that is in the rock. I'm like, nobody's been here, but what do we got this. And I was like, what's going on, Rebecca? Nothing, it's okay. And she hooks into it, continues across. We start shimming our ways.
Again, underscoring like the secrecy kind of going on. She doesn't tell anybody.
No, yeah, and that's even, she keeps to herself. Rebecca, the actress, she was doing a ton of work there herself, although she did have a little bit of support harness, but mostly was doing a lot of that.
Doing a lot of upper strength exercises, a lot of pull-ups and hanging there for a bit, which creates massive respect from guys in the gym, I can tell you.
We get successful crossings.
Juno and Sarah, the last two, and I think it's in that moment that Sarah said, was this about me or was this about you?
And what is so great, too, about the grief and the tension that we're dealing with between Sarah and Juno is we're not getting like a moment where they're really coming together in like, here's 3 minutes of watching paint dry and hearing them kind of go through everything. These quick whipped kind of moments and stuff where they're kind of throwing quick insults or jabs or like, and even Sarah previously, when they're trying to find a way forward, it's before I think they did the big crawl through, Juno apologizes to Sarah saying, sorry I didn't stick around more afterwards.
Yeah. Look, sorry, I'm feeling a bit out of it. It's probably jet lag or something, so I'm just going to take a look around, okay?
You're starting to see, too, the kind of look on Juno's face kind of precautiously about like things and how she thinks Sarah's, I guess, interpreting what's going on.
I think she's like, what does she know?
Yeah, exactly. And what we're further kind of getting a little bit closer to in some of, again, what we kind of alluded, the Paul and Juno's moment from before, you're seeing this kind of strain behind Sarah's eyes that she shows in many times in various moments in different, reacting to different things, but it's very good facial expressions that she portrays. But we get the first, this kind of like heavy, dark Sarah moments in kind of this like, she's stopping to care. She's a little more kind of jaded by things and becoming, and again, we're furthering the descent into things, the descent into darkness, descent into madness. Sarah gets across, then we have Juno crossing. What they wanted to with some of the violence to be so visceral, but also very cringe kind of like evoked feeling. So Rebecca's supporting the line. We keep furthering ourselves into the depth of this place, how difficult it was to get to this stage. It's getting more difficult. We're losing the means of being able to get here. We don't have rope, the more rope the bag we lost earlier. So it's just, again, all of these things are stacking onto something.
They all get across and they find these cave paintings. And it's an interesting moment that we have because they all get across because they worked together. So we have this kind of sense of community a little bit. And then we find the cave drawings and we realize, holy shit, there could be an exit.
And there's 2 entrances.
You are a fucking genius.
So we have this moment of a little bit of hope, but then immediately followed with a shot of the crawler. It hammers in the fact that
there's hope found that is immediately strangled. Yeah. Or like,
and great. And we feel hopeful, but this thing is right there, right behind us, and we didn't even know. And then that eventually does lead into they're exploring, and Holly unfortunately thinks she sees some light.
Yeah, see, this is where, the fear builds in, and you gotta stay rational and not get ahead of yourself, and that's where that OZ, that overzealousness, really catches Holly.
They cast her entire body. The actor that plays Holly, they did an entire body cast.
Full body prosthetic that was heavier than the actress herself dropping down there. So it really had an impactful thud.
Definitely did. And then a great prosthetic of the broken leg at the bottom of the cavern.
This was the actual prosthetic which was used on Holly, which basically is a silicone skin, which was just a slip-on. And we had some bone pieces which would go in, and basically there was blood tubing coming each way, which would just bleed and bleed and bleed. And as Sam tries to push a bone in, which it would just slip in like that, blood would just absolutely gush out.
Such a good job of hitting those spine-tingling elements and moments from, again, we just first getting the claustrophobic aspects and stuff, to now, these are all like natural elements. This is the cave's doings onto them before anything else. But it's already fucking visceral enough.
Yep. We don't need anything else to be added in, right? This is the horror, right? They eventually do climb up this area to what is called the Bone Cavern. And this is where a bunch of dead animals, maybe more than animals, bones are just everywhere.
Yeah, and they made thousands of bones for this.
Should we get to our slimy things?
Yeah.
Let's get to the thrill. Because it's about 55 minutes into this movie.
Nice, you got a little runtime.
Got a runtime. Almost an hour into this movie, it's revealed that it's more than just a cave.
Please. Is there anybody there? Hello?
And what do we have lingering right over her is our first crawler, first truly official crawler.
I made a deliberate point of keeping the crawlers away from the girls. I just wanted to see what the effect would be.
It's been very mysterious. We haven't been allowed to see them at all until the scene.
They just scared the living daylight out of me. We were supposed to stand still. I was screaming at the other side of the room within 3 seconds.
It just snapped. They went running off into the dark screaming. They built for weeks. They've been building up this image of being these really hard-ass, tough as nails girls. As soon as the crawler shows up, it's hands in the air and running away like a big bunch of pansies.
Ultimately, they couldn't use the take, as you were speaking to already from that first jump scare, because, and I think you should be able to show that clip there where it's very dark, but you just hear them scream and they just kind of run off their marks. That ability to have that amount of separation and to build the natural element of that amount of fear that's kind of built to that point really played so well, and we really do level up into the thrill from here. And then Juno rampantly coming to defend her, fighting one crawler off, which I think one of those was Scar that we see at that point.
They're cavemen who didn't leave the cave, and they've evolved in this environment over thousands of years. A community of them live down here, there's families, and they thrive in this underground environment.
He was sort of saying that basically he wanted them to have a slight influence on Nosferatu. We wanted to sort of have a slight vampiric design, but not looking like a vampire.
And we start to see a little bit more of the layers of the crawlers. They all have, very little nuanced, detailed differences to them. And we, it's to the point that we're seeing this is like a whole system. This is a family. This is a whole unit.
He gave me a Photoshop design that he'd done. It was really good, but originally it had huge eyes, and we'd done a test which wasn't really what we all wanted. We basically kept working on sculptures and making it smaller, more human, and went with contact lenses and gave it more human quality. It would have taken about 4 weeks to lock down the final design that worked better as a prosthetic.
Got to give the credit to Paul Hyatt, the special effects makeup designer. He worked really closely with Neil on the design of these crawlers.
Because the makeup that they have allows them to express themselves fully, both physically and facial expressions. What if they were cavemen, and what if they were actually more human? Because to me, making them more human makes them more scary.
I love that. Just because it humanizes them a little more, it kind of adds to this lore of like, were they once human and then evolved into this? And they're just like that stark white,
pasty white,
viscousy.
Their teeth like are sharp, but they're not like too big or anything either. Like the mouths are super creepy to me.
Nosferatu was a big influence.
But we also get what I think hones in so well outside of the ears is like the depth of the skull, like where the eyes are. It's like their skulls are kind of a little more pronounced out, or like at least their eye sockets in are really deep, and then they have really small eyes. And then it's almost like when they're really trying to like sense what's going on, they're like really tense. Like their eye will kind of like almost double open up, like unfold.
Basically, we tried to give them all distinct personality. There's one that's called Scar, who gets sliced, and he was a real vicious, nasty creature, so we sort of gave him these lip pieces that pulled down his lips, almost like a dog snarling. He always had that sour face. Females, we gave them a slightly witchy, sour look, whilst we didn't want any good-looking girl callers, so they're all ugly. And the rest of them just had little sort of quirky, different shaped ears. Some looked angrier, some looked a bit dopey.
They are hungry, and they do get to eating. They get Holly's body, and they drag Holly away, I think in this moment, and we get Juno still defending off. And what they did here, again, such a striking moment. When I talk about thinking about moments from this movie that always stuck with me from the very first time, I'd never forget this. But they did such a good job with, like, again, the three-dimensionality, building out these characters. Juno's become a very, like, back and forth, like, we're leaning more into an unlikable person, but she keeps kind of redeeming herself in ways. And, like, in this moment, taking vengeance over what just happened to Holly, we're kind of backing into Juno's side again.
Oh, Beth.
We again get like the kind of second time in of this stark reminder, or not reminder, I guess, bringing forth again that Juno is really pretty self-centered, but also when she faces some moment of grief or something that she has a hand in, she can't confront it. She can't even try and stay there to save Beth when she knows Beth is still struggling and still alive. This is where chaos is really ensuing. Everybody is now separated.
The sisters are together. Juno's by herself. Sarah's in their fucking crawler kitchen, witnessing them devour Holly.
And, it's interesting in the commentary they were talking about, a little bit of like audience, I don't know if it was like test screenings where they got this feedback initially where they were talking about, where it's not always good to listen to audience feedback and everything. It was like some people were saying they were having a hard time tracking who they were with at that time, but they all have a different light source. Rebecca, from the rest of her way forward, has a glow stick or whatever, the green light. Torch for Juno, and then we have the infrared camera that is how Sarah is being able to navigate through everything else. So it is a very distinct kind of look that is set between them as we kind of intercut.
Come on, test audiences. So she saves them in that moment.
And again, so this is the part of this kind of like back and forth that we get with Juno where she keeps slightly redeeming herself.
I mean, that's the complication of people, It's like she is trying and we can see her trying, but she never knows the best way to actually do it. She's never, like you said, she's always running away or fighting against something. She's not facing herself head on ever. And I think that that's ultimately what gets her stuck. Unfortunately, we got to pick off the two sisters.
Stabs him, kills him, and then she has this epic, like folds back, opens up, blood she had a blood pack like right here in her chest on her shirt, and it just like gushes down her face. And Rebecca, the sister, has to see her sister dead, sprawled out right in front of her.
Oh, luckily she gets picked off immediately afterwards.
Juno tries to get across her, like she just jumps.
She jumps.
And
she ends up in the water.
I always was like a little envious for Juno's situation there versus Sarah. She got some nice water to cleanse herself with down at the bottom.
Yeah, wipe off all that dirt.
On set perspective, they said it would take them like 2 showers at the end of the day to get the guck, the amalgamation of all the guck on them and stuff washed away.
So meanwhile, Sarah is in the kitchen, and then as she's on her way out of there, comes across Beth, who is not quite dead yet.
She did this to me. What? She left me. No, she... No. Beth!
So we get that kind of cemented moment right here and now that this was definitely a gift from Paul. They definitely had a tighter emotional connection bond and some infidelity aspects going in there amongst this tight-knit friendship of Beth, Sarah, and Juno. And that really kind of just like cements in the fracturing. And you think about like when Sarah would have said that line the day before, the evening before in the cabin, how that would have imparted on her at the time. She could have had the forethought to maybe take that necklace off.
Yeah, at that point, I'm like, okay, Juno, like you can stay in the cave. Like, whoa, that is the complete confirmation. The next moment, Beth asks Sarah to put her out of her misery.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy. She takes she goes Nick Nolte. She goes Cape Fear Nolte. What Nolte couldn't do to Max Cady, she gets done to her own best friend. All right. Everything from the past is cut free, and it's like that descent into savagery and everything has...
I mean, it's a perfect moment of she goes from that to a pool of blood, baptized in blood now, coming out reborn as someone completely different, maybe less human. And then the next time that Sarah and Juno come together, Sarah is different, and Sarah tests Juno right away.
What about Beth?
Oh, you failed. Juno, you fucking failed the test, and we all know it. And we have a little final fight. They have to work together to fight off these last crawlers that we meet up with. And it's, I think, a great symbolic moment that we have here when they're both fighting. Juno is fighting with the pickaxe, using the tools to kill these things. Sarah is biting them, using hands, eye gouging like an animal.
Savage Sarah.
Savage Sarah, to the point of giving Juno what she feels she deserves, which is leaving her behind in the cave.
We know that Juno is basically, yeah.
She's gone. Should we get into the final ride?
Yeah.
Let's pull into our ending here. We actually have two endings.
Beep, beep.
Our US ending and our UK ending. One a little less bleak than the other one. I don't know. You tell me. Where our US ends is Sarah, after shoving a pick through Juno's leg, finds a way out.
She falls and smashes down. And from that smash down, but then, yeah, she turns and sees like this steep, like they call it, kind of like Jacob's ladder of all these bones with like a light source at the top. And that exodus scene of like that breach is, it literally does feel like we're all breathing in fresh air for the first time. We're like, oh. And so this was the one area where I was talking about, they shot this with Sarah on like day 3 or 4, the escape. And so they didn't know what she was going to look like, the final form, how much blood and everything. So the first actual, before she gets to the car, there's a little less blood overall on her. And I was like, oh, okay, you can actually kind of notice a little bit more of the unknown of this.
It's a very Texas Chainsaw Massacre ending moment where she's just like crying, laughing, like insane almost. Especially just covered in that blood and just
all the evoked emotions, pulls over, pukes. And then we get the US ends right there on a jump scare. Classic US.
Blackout from there, kind of saying that she escaped, but she still has to live with
just
the decisions, I guess?
Yeah, the overarching trauma of it. And then now I guess like her it's almost felt like a Yankee swap where it's like now the guilt is placed on you for like what you did to Juno, leaving her in this position.
Now it's on you. Now you're guilty.
But UK-wise, we snap right back to where she had fallen from and realize there is no light source there. There is no possibility for escape and hope in that way. But we do get the kind of final moment of the birthday cake.
We are left with her stuck in this cave as the sound of the crawlers bear down on her. Yeah, it's a downer for sure. But to me, it serves the story a little bit better. You know, we've gone through this whole journey, this spiral of Sarah's, and it would only make sense for her to end at the bottom.
Neil had said from when the concept of the film, it being the title is The Darkness originally, the bones of the script, without the three-dimensionality build out of the characters, before even knowing it was all female cast, was always kind of what he mentioned, Terry Gilliam's Brazil, this just like there isn't any sense of hope that you were to be left with at the end. And I really loved his original ending and her with her daughter, this kind of one last time, and the kind of full circling back in and around that, and this kind of moment she has with her where, again, there's even a little bit of like quiet levity to Sarah and almost a little bit of inner peace with the fact that there isn't going to be an escape.
It feels more poignant. It feels like more rounding out, and it makes sense because that was the original ending that Neil intended.
It's so inspiring how much love and passion he has for film and especially horror. When he talks about it, he becomes like a little boy just talking about the gore.
Put the shits right up the audience eyes. Start thinking about what I'm going to do next, because I want to be on another film set by Christmas, in an ideal world. Because I can't get enough of it. It's just the best job in the universe.
The Descent. Holy shit. Please, sir, tell me what your smash pumpkins are for The Descent.
Smash pumpkins for The Descent, really going back through it. I landed at a solid 4.
Solid 4. Very nice. Very nice. I got to go similar with that. I mean, I think I'm going to go 4.5. It's really good.
It is. And in so many ways that, like, this is not a knock by any means, but I like reflected back because I hadn't seen it in so long and think about when I first saw it. In my mind's eye, like I thought it was, it was a kind of a lower budget, or like just there was something to it that didn't seem like it was scary and great, but there was something that just seemed like by no means like a student film, but like just like not higher production value, but not by no means did it need to be extrapolated out to that extent. And a lot of the elements and reasons maybe why I was thinking that didn't mean the production value was low and lesser, or what they achieved upon. Again, so this was just like a poor frame of mind. I think I just had like thinking back to it. But again, the way that we get to do these deep dives, it doesn't mean, it's like every movie is such a fucking journey from front to end to make it through and to say put your stamp on it and say that everybody collaborated cohesively and everything and it's going to be great is such a fucking gamble. The producer, one of the lead producers too, they said would come on set once or twice a day, like just kind of pop in, check on things that was going smooth, and was very hands off, which they really appreciated too, having that much trust in the process moving forward into it. But yeah, I kept going back in my mind. I'm like, well, why not rate this higher? It's just like this movie really top to bottom tied in the purpose of what, was trying to, again, be conveyed within the story so well. Like
it did. The symbolism, it's terrifying. It's tense. It's hard to take a lot away from this movie. What it set out to do, it absolutely succeeded in, which is why I want to rate it high like that. How about your creepiest kitty? I mean...
My creepiest kitty, there's a lot of areas and realms you can go within this, of course. But for me, it was just... It's the eye gouging that actually Sarah does to a crawler. And they go into it and they come back to it. They cut away from it and then they come back again. And it's like, oh. And I think it's that where it's just that really festers into eye gouges are rough. You think about pressure, ocular pressure, and just like what that would actually be like to be like punctured through, loss of sight, and then immense pain. You feel like some sort of digits moving around and within. Yeah, really trying to get into your feeling state right now, thinking about that. That one always kind of sticks through. And upon rewatching, crawlers certainly were more of the terrifying moment, and upon like the initial watch and everything. But that moment in Kill, from all the blood, guts, visceral moments and stuff, really the eye gouge for me.
I do want to throw out a shout out to the scene. Obviously, the big jump scare. Everyone knows that's a really fucking scary moment. Great jump scare. just want to throw an honorary mention to there. But the moment that I wanted to highlight for Creepiest Kitty is that really tight hole that they had to go through. Just that whole scene, even before Sarah gets stuck, you feel it. You feel every little like shimmy that they're going through. You're tense the whole time. And then your greatest fear is realized when she gets stuck. And then a cave-in happens. So just like that whole sequence is so tense. And just such a great example of how they use their set and how they use the lighting to create this really, really tense atmosphere. Ugh.
And dude,
even thinking back on it, I'm like, I can feel it.
I know. And that's where I go to too. Again, that it's like, that's where the fear came in the first time. The first time you see them crawling through, you don't know when, how long they're going to get stuck. Are we going to have a bunch more of these types of scenes? Fortunately, not really to that extent. But again, like that, it really played and built well. And upon all of our like very kind of like primal fears within the space, I brought this up to a buddy of mine from back home, Sam, as well. And he said, he's like, oh God, that fucking movie, when I told him what we had coming up, because that's how everybody kind of remembers it, is fuck that movie, if you've seen it.
Yeah. Please do.
Please
do. It's The Descent.
The Descent.
Thank you so much for stopping by, Descent, and thank you for stopping by as well. Please don't forget, like, subscribe, turn on those notifications.
And comment away. Tell us what, if you've seen this movie and if you saw it around, 2005 when it came out, whatever age you were at that time, let us know how it first imparted on you. And if you did a revisit of late, how it imparts now.
Yeah, because certainly affected us still. Please check out Playground Social. This is the studio that we are recording this at. And also you can check us out at the Deadlights Pod. Please check out, big thanks to Rudy Sheeter, who's chopping it up in the booth. Mike TV, who's providing us our very, very cool consoles. And also Andrew Degner, who's making us look very, very pretty, with all the beautiful lights and cameras. So appreciate you guys very much.
We couldn't do without you, sincerely. It's all to you for us to be able to do this, to reach the audiences near and wide.
If you want to check me out, you can find me at BeepBeepRichieT.
And if you'd like to find me, you can find me at MR_Andreessen.
But until next time,
stay spooky, y'all.
Stay spooky, y'all. Ooh. Get me out of this cave. Get me out of this fucking cave.